And so powerful, so many things to unpack. So many things to unpack. One of the things I want to start with is, what is the difference between a peaceful relationship and a boring relationship?
Oh,
Because I think that...
Great question. That's a great question.
Because I think a lot of people think of peaceful as boring when we're not emotionally mature. So I can relate to what you're saying, where you actually want a relationship that's kind of like chaotic and up and down and passionate, and then we love each other, we hate each other, you know, there's that kind of energy, there's something. And we kind of do that in a lot of our lives. And by the way, we do that even in marriage and relationships, where we can often invent drama because it's too peaceful. And I've had friends who've reached out to me and said, Jay, I keep creating drama in my life because that's what I'm used to. And I don't know what to do with this guy or this girl because they're actually peaceful. So people are scared that peaceful means boring, but you've just said you like a peaceful relationship. I know you're not a boring guy. So what's the difference?
So when you was just saying that, I thought to myself, there are days where I'm on time for something and I will kind of go and do one more thing before the meeting that makes me late. So that I have to like make a game of getting in the car and like finding a way to like, how can I still like, the GPS says I'm going to be there in 2 minutes before, but I'll make like shaving off a minute. Like I was on time.
Yeah.
Why did I do the one more? Nothing was gonna go wrong if I didn't do that one more thing.
Yeah.
Why did I do one more thing that made me late? And I had to realize at a certain point that was like my nervous system. I grew up around, like, my dad was always late for everything. I learned that from him. I used to hate it, by the way, but like I had also then adopted it. I'm not that way anymore in my life, but like I realized like I have an addiction to this feeling, this like mini drama of, am I going to get there on time? Which creates this little mini drama in my day for like 10 minutes. It's like an adrenaline rush. I'm like, and it's a horrible feeling, really. It doesn't feel good. It feels like stressful and anxiety inducing. And now I'm going to come across as rude and disrespectful with someone's time. And I'm like stressed. But it's like my body is used to that. I'm not used to like getting somewhere on time and like have 10 minutes to just chill. And like, that's a new feeling that can feel boring. Mm-hmm. So in terms of a relation, I think we do it everywhere in our lives. In terms of a relationship, I knew when I met my wife, Audrey, that I had found peace that wasn't by any means boring because I felt at home. I didn't just feel safe. We can feel safe and very bored, right? We can feel like I'm with someone who is very non-threatening. I feel like this person's not going to leave me. I feel like I'm very safe in this situation, but I don't really this doesn't feel like my person. I just feel safe. And when you haven't felt safe for a long time, sometimes that's a very lovely feeling on its own, just to feel like I'm no longer in an abusive relationship, or I'm no longer in a relationship with someone that makes me second guess myself all the time, or feels like they're going to leave me at any moment. But eventually we will get bored in a situation where the only thing that's presenting as a positive thing is the safety we feel. But in this relationship, I felt at home. And I felt like I felt more seen than I'd ever felt before. I really was astonished to the extent to which this person got me, and that we seemed to get each other. And the first night we met, we spoke for 8 hours straight, literally. Like everyone else was like partying and doing that, and we talked for 8 hours the first night we met. There was an attraction there that made us talk to each other. It's not like we started talking to each other in the first second because we knew we were such great conversationalists. Like we started talking because there was an attraction, but then it felt easy. It felt like home somehow. It took me a minute to realize that, by the way. This wasn't a love at first sight story of like, and then everything was smooth sailing, but it took me a while to realize, oh, this is This feels like home. I'm more of myself around this person. And I think that's a beautiful thing to find, is someone who makes you more of yourself. And of course, I think, you can't, if someone says to me, I've got zero sexual attraction to this person, that's a problem. That's a genuine problem. You have to have some form of attraction to the person you're with. Now, by the way, does it need to be the greatest attraction you've ever felt for anyone in your life? That trips a lot of people up, because I always say, don't comparison shop for chemistry. It's one of the things I talk about in the book, because I think we're always comparing whatever is in front of us with the peak of our chemistry that we've had with someone that we can't seem to get over. But you only have to take a look at what are the situations that we find hard to get over. Like, what was that peak of chemistry and attraction? And it's often in situations that were entirely unsustainable. It's, you have a holiday romance with someone and oh God, like I'd love to feel that animal attraction for someone who was good for me and who I had a long-term relationship with. And it's like, well, how long did you know that person? 2 weeks? They didn't have to do very much. Like, it's easy to create the conditions for chemistry in that kind of a situation. The same is true of people who have a 3-month fling with someone where there's like, it becomes more interesting because it's flaming really hot and then it disappears. I had a woman who I coached who said, this person was the one. We had this amazing 3-month thing. And I said, what happened? And she was like, well, he went traveling and he said he didn't want to continue the relationship. And for me, that's like literal fireworks. Fireworks, we look at them and they're really exciting. And we're like, isn't this magical? And you look at those fireworks. But if those fireworks carried on for 3 hours, you'd be like, I want to go home now.
Yeah.
You would be bored.
Yes.
Right? For fireworks to be exciting,
They have to end.
They have to end. So we have to be very careful about comparing the like slow burn energy of a real relationship with like that fast twitch muscle of a short-term encounter or an affair that is naturally exciting because it's an affair. It's like,
mysterious.
Yeah. So I don't think you should absolutely have chemistry, but we have to be really careful with comparing chemistry with previous chemistry, because that chemistry may not have lasted either if you'd actually got what you wanted.
Yeah. And it makes so much sense. The analogy you painted of the fireworks is a brilliant one, because a real relationship is one that you don't want to end. And the chemistry-based relationship is one that has to end, right? It has to come to an end. And for it to feel meaningful. And a real relationship, you never want to end, and that's why it feels meaningful. And that's where we're kind of stuck in between. And the thing I hear the most, and I asked my audience and my team a lot of questions before this interview, because I know a lot of my audience is dating, trying to figure it out. And one of the biggest things, which we touched on here, but I want to ask you about, is that people find it overwhelming with the number of options they have today. And I've spoken to friends who are like, well, this guy's great, but maybe there's someone greater, right? And we're constantly living in this, they're good, but maybe they're 50%, and maybe there's a 51, and then maybe there's a 79, and maybe there's a 99, because I can see someone else over there has a 99. And so we keep second guessing even the person in front of us, even if they are fulfilling our needs, because of the overwhelming number of options. So when you said you felt at home, and I think that's what people want to feel. They want to feel at home. They want to feel more than safe. But how do we know, or what have been the best signs and indicators that people can look out for that they're actually making things harder for themselves by wishing, hoping, wanting someone else? Or is that a sign that you're not with the right person, that you feel that there is someone who has more? It's
such a tough question, because I think
it is a tough question.
It's sometimes we're wanting something else because there's, the person that's in front of us isn't compelling enough. There really is something lacking in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think we have to ask ourselves, what are the things that I really must have for an amazing relationship? Like for me, when I was going to ask Audrey to marry me, I literally called up a friend and told him, and he was like, why are you doing that? I'm just curious. Like it was almost like his way of testing whether I was ready or not, whether I was just in some crazy like infatuation and I said, I'm ready to build something in my life. I feel like for me, my dating life was just like hitting reset all the time. And it was honestly at a certain point making me anxious, like dating and being with different people. And it just didn't, there was a time in my life where that was really exciting. And then it started to just go the other way. And I had to listen to that and go, this isn't going to work. Like this isn't where it's at. This isn't making me happy. This isn't bringing me peace. The way that I was dating it had almost like an addictive quality to it that was really unhealthy. And I thought, this isn't going to be a good look 10 years from now. It's not going to make me feel good. It's not going to bring me more peace, which is by the way, that doesn't mean that you know how to give something up. When you have those realizations, you might realize eating healthier would be better for you, but it doesn't mean that you've trained yourself to be able to do that. But I got to a point where I said, I want to build something now. And with Audrey, I thought in my head, I was like, I'll never find a better builder. And I said that to him, like, I'll never find a better builder. This is the builder for me. Like, we're going to be able to do such amazing things together, and the life we'll have, and her level of empathy and compassion, and the person that I am with this person, the way she makes me feel, like that's truly special. And I'm not there's the one out there kind of a person. I've never been that way. If anyone looks back through my videos, and this because we've spoken about it, back when I was single, I've never been a person who believes in the idea of the one. So I think that it's finding someone that we look at what's really important to us, not what's important on an egoic level, because I think a lot of the things that make us question whether this person is right for us are ego-based. I don't think they're based on how we feel around this person. We worry, is this the kind of person my friends think that I should be with? Do they look the part? Are they my normal type?
Do they make the right amount of money?
Yeah, like has this person come in the package that I had always told myself they would come in? And those things can be really, really limiting. And they can have us like constantly trying to optimize for some version of something that we think we're supposed to be with, which is a very dangerous way to go about finding love. You can't optimize for human beings. You can optimize for a lot in life, but you're dealing with people. And by the way, even if you let go of this person, you're going to find someone else who's also imperfect, and they might, okay, this person is, scores a 7 in this area and they score a 9, but guess what? They score a 3 in this other area that you didn't even know was great in this relationship because you took for granted how amazing that person was in that way. Like it's very dangerous to optimize in that way in our love life. And I've come to really believe in life that if you find a connection that has all the right raw materials and you both have the same level of commitment, then you can build something extraordinary together. And actually the extraordinary is the thing you sculpt together. It's no different from a career. Neither you nor I started by doing our dream version of this. It's evolved and evolved and evolved and evolved. And every year you sculpt it a little closer to your ideal way of doing it all. And along the way, you do a lot of things that you don't necessarily, you're like, oh my God, I couldn't do this for a lifetime. And this part I thought I would enjoy, and I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as I thought I would. I'm going to stop doing that. And you sculpt it. Like dream careers are sculpted. They're not found. And I think that that's true of relationships as well. Like I'm more grateful for my relationship with Audrey the more time goes on.
Yes.
Because we keep sculpting it into something that's better and better. What that requires, which is really hard for a lot of us, myself included, for many years. And this was one of the things that I think really hurt me, was I got myself into an incredibly indecisive state where I was constantly second guessing myself. And I, you know, when we think of what's our, like, what are we worried about in our love life? For so many of us, it's that we're going to settle.
Yes.
I'm going to settle for the wrong person. Well, I think we can actually start to reclaim the language of settling and make it into a very positive thing. That what if it wasn't settling for? What if you decided to settle on? Because when you settle on someone, there's a power to that. It's like you resolve to say, I'm going to settle on this. It's like people crossing a country, when a country is, you know, it's like people crossing America and deciding when to stop. Right? Where, at what point did the early settlers say, this is good enough, I don't need to keep going, like, I've found an amazing place. And when you find that place, you go, I could live here. Then you settle on it. And it's only by settling on it that you can make it great. It's only by putting your attention on it like a laser that you can see what it becomes. And I don't think that I ever really settled on anything in my love life in a way that gave it a chance to see what it could really become. And in this situation, I really gave myself that chance by saying, I'm gonna go all in on this.
Yeah.
But she was smart because she also saw that Audrey is ridiculously perceptive and in tune with people. And she saw in me early on, like, oh, this is a pattern for him. And that doubt and that, what do I want? You know, is this right? And she saw that early on. And one of the things that she did was she